السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير حدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. يا أيها الإخوة وأخوات, brothers and sisters, this is a continuation of our series dealing with relationship goals by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. This series will cover the different types of classifications when it comes to dealing with both spouses, whether husbands or wives. So what's considered to be husband material, what's considered to be wife material. What are the type of classifications that one should stay away from and should be aware of, and what are the type of classifications that one should be attracted to or be looking out for in search of. And understanding that with these different types of classifications, it's going to bring about certain type of expectations that will happen once a person select these different types of classifications. When dealing with relationship goals, and we talked about that before, and we explained that society has laid out a list or a set of principles that a woman or a man should look for in a spouse when looking on to partner with someone in a relationship. However, we want to look at it from an Islamic perspective, because for the Muslims, we have a list as well of expectations, the different types of classifications, the different types of men, or what's considered husband material, what's considered wives material. We have them. And our standard, as we explained before, is going to be based off, as the example is going to be the Prophet ﷺ himself, as Allah Jalla wa Ala says to us, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Indeed, you have in the Messenger of Allah ﷺ a beautiful example. Likewise, the Prophet wives, the Ummuhat, or the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, the mothers of the believers, and they are a standard example that we should have in the ideal Muslim and the ideal Muslim male or female, or believing male or female. Secondly, another thing that we understand when it comes to relationship goals, then the standard is set by the prophetic advice of the Prophet ﷺ when selecting a mate, and we talked about that in our previous talks. Alright, so remember, these are those guidelines that we want to use Islamically when looking for. So we're going to delve in. There's about 7 to 8 different classifications or categorizations of potential wives or wife material. Likewise, the same thing for potential husbands and husband materials. So today, because of the time, we're only going to read 3 from each. 3 dealing with the wives, okay, wifey material if you want to call it, and 3 dealing with the husband material you want to call it. And we're going to elaborate, inshallah, on that. Before beginning, we want to remember that when it comes to spouses, husband and wife, there is a fundamental principle that must be etched and understood when dealing with spouses. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says in the Quran, in the 4th chapter of the Quran, which is known as Surah An-Nisa. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Pay attention to this. It's a fundamental principle when dealing with cohabitating with your spouse. Allah Jalla wa Ala command the husbands وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ to live with them in harmony. So the objective of man and wife being together is to bring about harmony. This does not always come in the form of complete happiness. And I think sometimes we get that missing. There is not going to be a upper throughout the whole entire relationship. Islam does not require that of both the man and the woman. Okay? So you don't have to expect to always be on an all-time high with your spouse. But there are certain rules and certain parameters that make sure each one is getting their haqq, which keeps the balance in the relationship. So وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, live with them in ma'ruf. Okay, ma'ruf, if you notice, as the ulama mentioned from the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, he talks about from this also Ibn Sa'di, that al-ma'ruf is also the word urf. It's also is understood from this, and urf is custom or tradition. So what normally is the norm within the tradition of that society that one find themselves they live in, how they deal with one another and interact with one another as far as husband and wives, that will be taken in consideration as well, as long as it does not trample on the rights of each other that has been set down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the book and the sunnah. But ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf, living with one another in harmony must be maintained at all times. Okay? Harmony is the objective. It must be maintained. So how do you accomplish this? This is where we're going to get into the classifications. May Allah reward the individuals who have placed this classification together. This is not extracted from the book and the sunnah from which I can see. So I will relate back to the book and the sunnah to give some support to each of these different classifications, and Allah knows best. Tayyib. The first type of, we're going to deal with the first type of wife, or wifey material, or the type of wife that you want to stay away from, or, like we said, the classification. The first type of wife, okay, or category, or classification rather, is known as the boxing wife, okay? And throughout history, as we know of the hadith of Abu Zar'a, and that beautiful hadith Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, where the woman was sitting around talking about their husbands, and they had mentioned over about 11 different types of husbands, all right? So, we know that classification been going on for years, as we've seen a glimpse in that. Likewise, the Salaf, they will talk about, and the 20 pieces of advice. There was a piece of advice that the Sheikh brother had brought. I think we read it before on our page, 20 pieces of advice to my sister when she was married. And we talked about the different types of women and which woman you should pick. So this is nothing foreign. This is something actually true. So what is a boxing wife? This classification. A boxing wife, these are the type of wives that fight with their husbands. Okay? And when we mean fighting, fighting here is inclusive, whether it leads to physical altercation or verbal altercation. Okay? And verbal can fall under, as we said, emotionally, not just words that's being said, any type of abuse. Okay, so the boxing type of wife, these are the ones who intentionally or deliberately fight with their husbands. They pick a fight just to provoke his anger. So they want their husband to, to get upset. They want to bring about some type of results. Now, psychologically, a lot of females, they like some spunk in their relationship. And to relate to some type of identification, which is an identifier for them, that their husband is into them, or their husband is attracted to them, or their husband loves them in some type of way or cares for them, they have to see some type of reaction from the husband. So normally they will, get on his bad side. Sometimes it starts off as just a joke, and it's not like they really want him to be completely angry. But then there are some females who know, they go out of their way. They always want to pick a fight. They want to go out their way. So what they do is they provoke their husband to be angry. And these type of wives are ready to fight with their husband mostly in public. It's not in closed doors or in private. This is really mostly going to be done in public areas, which to create a scene. Okay? Now, anger is no stranger. We understand that anger in Islam, Allah Jalla wa Ala has made anger a part of the emotion of both man, female, both young and old. Even children become angry, so this is a quality of man. Okay? However, there are remedies and there are certain things that we are reminded in the deen of Islam to do when we become angry, as the hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu, when the man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, "Awsini, advise me, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam." He told him to advise, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La taghdab," and he mentioned it 3 times. He told him, "Do not become angry." Sheikh Salih Fawzan, in his commentary of this tremendous hadith, which is, I believe, is the 16th hadith that Imam Nawawi placed in his 40th hadith, which he says that the anger, the reason why, he said that the scholars explain the reason why the Prophet ﷺ commanded this man or told this man not to become angry, because one, the Prophet ﷺ knew this man and he knew his temperament. And he also describes that anger is that blood that's boiling. Sometimes it becomes so much that one loses his or her senses. You know, this is why these scholars are thick. They say that when it comes to talaq, divorcing your wife in a state of rage, okay, because anger at different levels. So when you are at a state of rage where you black out and you divorce your wife, they say that this divorce, talaq, does not count. Taking in consideration the person's blood level or high pressure is up, and he or she does not know exactly what they're saying, they are in a total fit of rage. This is why also the Prophet ﷺ told us as well, when one become angry, what to do. Okay, so if a person is standing, the Prophet ﷺ told the angry person who is standing to sit down. And the person who is sitting down that is angry, the Prophet ﷺ told him to what? Lay down. Pay attention to each of these instructions from the Prophet ﷺ to deal with anger. Also, likewise, the Prophet ﷺ advised first before that is to make wudu. Okay? To extinguish that fire, that heat. So there is no doubt that between spouses and anger, if one given to their rage, it disrupts the harmony that Allah talks about in the verse. You cannot live in harmony with your spouse if anger, not understand you're getting angry, but if you become to a fit of rage and you're angry, that anger can cause disruption within that harmony. Okay? And it's disruptive. So anger, brothers and sisters, is something that we want to stay away from. So it's not permissible. It's not permissible. Say this again. It's not permissible now to deliberately annoy a believing male or female. And this extends to both husband and wife. I want you to pay attention. Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, في Surah An-Nisa, as well as in Surah Al-Ahzab, Allah Jalla wa Ala said, those who they annoy, يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, they deliberately annoys the believing men and the believing women. Allah Jalla wa Ala said there's a painful torment for them. Those who go out their way to annoy, to cause some annoyance, some disturbance to that particular person. So how much so a woman who deliberately and intentionally sets out to anger her spouse so that he can get explosive and cause a scene. Okay, this falls under annoying your husband. This is impermissible. Also, once a person does that, to annoy someone and see someone to become angry and to become upset like that, this shows an indication into that person's character. Okay, we want to be careful with that. So the boxing wife is the one that always wants to get it in. I remember one time there was a brother, he was telling us that he was married to a woman that in her mind, in order to identify the fact that she loved him, it had to be some physical altercation that transpired between them. He has to put his hands on her. In other words, when he puts his hands on her, she identified that this person actually loves her and cares about her. And this is something that's from some traumatic experience that she experienced, probably coming up and so forth, that she carried over into their marriage, that she identifies them. And some men are like that. And some women are like that as well. They believe that there has to be some type of physical altercation to transpire. And this is something that we advise to seek out a counselor, to seek out some type of mental health. It is a mental health issue, to seek out a counselor. And I don't like to throw titles around or throw claims around clinical terms that this is mental health or this is not mental health, because I'm not professionally a doctor, so to speak. But the ulama And when I say the ulama here, I'm talking about the professionals within that particular area. They explain certain traits and what is considered to be mental health issues. And no doubt, like you said, a psychological thing, a traumatic thing is where any type of abuse identifies or pass off as some type of love or care. Okay? Where a person thinks that a person beating them or fighting with them indicates or shows their care or concern, that's a problem. Okay? And 9 times out of 10, believe it or not, many of us have this problem when we are in our relationships. We tend to identify with that. Okay? We want to stay away from it. Okay? Public scenes. Okay. Now, public scenes, for one, we mentioned the verse that deals with not annoying the believer. Okay? Also, now we're going to mention those hadith about not humiliating, not insulting. Rasulullah said that the Muslim is the one who what? Salima. The Muslimun is the one who is safe from his what? Yad wa lisan, from his hands and his tongue. Okay? Also, you want to be careful about, especially when in public, to cause these type of scenes. And it can happen to the best of us. Trust me, I have been in some altercations myself, where it can happen to the best of us that if we do not pit our rage mashallah, now we don't put our rage, if we don't put our rage in check, it can happen. How many times you might see a brother and sister, and I'm talking about the scene looks so beautiful at first, you see the garments, you see the throws, and you're like, mashallah, right? They look peaceful. They look like they come to bring about peace, this serenity, this calmness. And then soon when they open their mouth, they're in public now. It's explosive. And you see that effect that it has. So you want to be careful with that. Any woman that have this trait, actually to work on it, remember not to annoy your husband. Likewise, the husbands not to annoy the wives. Remember the fundamental principle of dealing with relationships. They'll both want to stay clearly away from us. And just because we're talking about the boxing wife, there is a boxing husband who likes to annoy and nitpick, as they say, with your spouse. And the verse I love to use for the men to understand women more better, there's hadith as well, but the verse that I like to use is the verse that comes in Surah Al-Taghabun, the 64th chapter of the Quran, where Allah Jalla wa Ala says, at the end of this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا. Okay? Talking about the woman, that the men should take in consideration that وَإِن تَعْفُوا, as a saying that the woman can be an enemy to the husband. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, but if he's in ta'fu, if he overlooks, meaning he pardons her, وَتَصْفَحُوا, overlooks her mistakes, وَتَغْفِرُوا, and forgive her of her mistakes. If you do these 3 things when dealing with the woman, this is important to understand. Okay? Sometimes when it comes between spouses, because we have that intimate relation with one another, because we share so much intimacy with each other, and we want the best from each other, in some cases, not in all cases, right? But because we want the best and we share that intimate, what happens? It's like a dynamite waiting to explode. It happens so fast. You never really get so upset to the point than a husband with a wife, or a wife with a husband, right? You ever notice? No one can get under your skin more than that woman, or no one can get under your skin more than that man, right? And you're crossing that line. So you want to be careful. All right, so we want to look at one of the types of the husbands. Remember, we're only going to mention 3 because I can't go too long. Inshallah ta'ala the time. So the types of husbands, the classifications that you sisters now have to pay attention to is and I'm going to mention something personally about myself because I identify a lot with this first type, and that is the bachelor husband. Okay, what is a bachelor husband? This classification and certain expectations come from it. The bachelor husband is the one who does things on his own without consulting with his wife. That's the first point. So you might say, a man doesn't have to consult with his wife. Okay, someone might argue that. Islamically, show me, brother, where is the dalil or the evidence that a man has to consult with his woman? Well, we want to tell you that the best, and remember we said in the beginning, when it comes to relationship goals, the ideal example that we're supposed to have is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Allah said, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, you have a beautiful example. Allah said, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَّ خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Indeed, your Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is one of exalted, standard, moral character. So he is the ideal example we're supposed to have. He himself consulted with his wives. I'm going to give you an incident that have transpired. And this is the peace treaty, if anyone know about this peace treaty of Hudaybiyah, which is Ibn Abbas, as Ibn Kathir mentioned in his tafsir, to Surah Al-Fath, which is the 48th chapter of the Quran. In Surah Al-Fath, Allah Jalla wa Ala said, "Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina." Indeed, we gave you a clear victory in this first verse. So, Ibn Abbas, he explains that the Fath was not at the time of the conquest of Mecca. When did the Fath take place? Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the Fath, the conquest of Mecca, the conquest of Mecca only came about due to the peace treaty of the Hudaybiyah. The Prophet ﷺ and his companions, they was getting ready to go. Well, first the Prophet ﷺ informed his companions, because it comes in this surah where Allah Jalla wa Ala said, "Laqad ru'ya." Indeed, Allah Jalla wa Ala showed the messenger the dream. The dream that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed the Prophet ﷺ is that him and his companions were going to be making Umrah in Mecca. Okay, this time it was under the pagan Quraysh. They had control and authority over the Kaaba. So him and his companions were going to make this lesser pilgrimage, which is Umrah. Anyway, long story short, they weren't able to make it, and this is when this peace treaty came out. This is when Umar bin al-Khattab, he says, didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promise, or didn't you say that you seen that we were going to be making this Umrah? So they made a peace treaty. This peace treaty consisted of certain things. So one of them was a 10-year agreement. And the Quraysh broke the agreement, which brought about the conquest of Mecca. So this is why Ibn Abbas said this is the real victory. But in that peace treaty, what happened was the Prophet ﷺ came out, and one of his companions, he came out, and he was going to make the Umrah, and he wanted them to shave their heads, because everyone was so discontented and so upset that they wasn't able to perform Hajj that year, or the Umrah. They did not immediately start shaving their heads. So the Prophet ﷺ went back into his tent, and he consulted, pay attention now, this is the whole point of me bringing this up. He consulted with one of his wives. Okay. So if a brother say to you, sister, that I don't have to consult with you or converse with you or check in with you, so to speak, when I'm handling business, then he wants to re-look at how the Prophet ﷺ dealt and interacted with his own wives. Because the Prophet ﷺ consulted with his wife. His wife instructed him what to do. She told him to go back out there and shave your head, and they're going to immediately follow suit. And that's exactly what he did. Also, Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Imran, the 3rd chapter of the Quran, Allah Jalla wa Ala says, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزِمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Allah Jalla wa Ala, he says, and consult with them, meaning with your comrades, with your companions. Consult with them. Okay, this is talking about rules and engagements of war. The Prophet ﷺ, as a commander, was told by Allah that he should consult with his army and with his comrades and talk and discuss about engaging war with the enemy. So Allah Jalla wa Ala said, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. Right? فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ. And when you have made your decision, when you are firm on your decision, فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ, then place your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, consulting your wives does not mean you are a lesser man. Consulting your wives do not mean that you are giving up your authority as the figurehead or the head of the household, so to speak. Consulting your wife shows your strength, it shows your understanding, and it also helps with وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. It helps with living with your wife in harmony, as Allah commanded you to do. Live with your wife in harmony. So when it comes to life-changing things that affect both you and your wife, and if Allah bless y'all to have children, and it affects the children, then you should consult with your wife. That is, if you're going to go inside, I'm not saying that you got to go get a joint bank account. I'm not saying that. But if y'all actually at that point where y'all do have a joint bank account, then it's nothing impermissible about it. But I'm just saying, you should consult with your wife if it's going to direct anything with the family or with her. Okay, you should consult with her. You should talk to your wife. This indicates that you should be a sadiq to your wife, a friend to your wife. This indicates that the Prophet ﷺ was a friend with his wives. Why wouldn't you talk and consult with your wives? Okay, that was number one. Also, the bachelor husband, he hangs out a lot with his friends. Okay, so he doesn't put too much importance on time. And if you know anything about women, the biggest mistake, and I said I was going to mention something personally that I had. I've been married a lot of times, brothers and sisters. So, I mean, it's not impermissible, but I've been married to the same woman a couple of times too. But also, anyway, one of the consistent things and flaws that I had in my marriages, and that I can identify with this, is the issue of time. You have to make sure you show your wife the necessary attention that is due. We get so wrapped up in ourselves. We get so wrapped up into our professions or into our friends, into other ones, that we take for granted the person that we are with. And we think that that person's supposed to just be on standby and that they don't have needs that need to be required or met when dealing with one another. So what we do is we put them to the side, or better to speak, we put them on the shelf, take them off when we're ready to take them off. This is unfair. This also disrupts the harmony that the ayah is talking about. وَآشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Okay? Think about it. If a wife cannot, on a voluntary fast, continue to fast voluntarily, pay attention, because she would be doing what? If her husband commands her to come and have his right with her, if she fasts, she has to break her voluntary fast to obey her husband, because this is a right that he has. And this is also a part of attention. He wants attention from his wife. Okay? This brings about that harmony that makes it what? That she can cut off a voluntary act of worship for her husband, which is another form of worship, by obeying her husband. How much more so now for the wife? Now the wife wants attention from the male. Okay? Now we all heard about the Steph Curry situation, his wife making a statement on, on Jada Pinkett show and everything like that, and the stuff that she felt, about, I don't know, there was a lot of misgivings about that, about her not having a lot of men seeking her hand or anything like that, and she's a married woman, in her inboxes, right? But one thing we forgetting, and I'm not going to talk about whether or not she's right for that or wrong for that, it's not the time or the topic right now. The point I'm trying to bring up is this: she's a woman. A woman also is that she wants attention. This is why she likes trinkets. Allah describes the woman like this. This is why the woman likes beautification. This is why the woman likes those things that she has. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say what? Do not strike your ankles, right? To bring about attention. Do not perfume yourself outside of the house to bring about attention to yourself, because the woman wants attention. So if she's married, she's covering herself up, she's doing all of this stuff, and she lives in a wicked society that calls her to everything. Her cousins is not on it. Her mother might not be on it. Her friends, her childhood friends she grew with, might not be on it. Her co-workers might not be on it. And the man that she chose to marry and be with, he's not even giving her the necessary attention. And then she got social media to contend with, where she's seeing multiple men on there, right? And she's like, well, this guy ain't giving me no attention. And we know you can't stop it, brothers. I mean, you can tell your wife all you want to not please or accept any male requests, but 9 times out of 10, it's still going to be a male creeping in her inbox. If she's a female up there, there's going to be a male from all walks of life that's going to be in that woman's inbox. It's on her to not fear Allah, not to entertain it, but it's still going to happen. It comes with the territory. So, why not give that woman the necessary attention she needs? So the bachelor husband lives just like a bachelor. And look at the end. This one is not serious about marriage life. This one is not serious. And this is one thing that the Prophet ﷺ, when it comes to dealing with religion, I don't want to get off topic, but there are certain things you have to take in play. And two main things when it comes to dealing with religion. I've only been in the experience twice, and it really didn't work out for me because I am a poor guy. So anyway, that's a big thing. You have to have some type of finance, okay? And it don't got to be major rich wealth, because a woman will still work with you. A lot of the women make more than we make anyway, and they still work with the men. But anyway, at the end of the day, the scholars say that nafaqah will walk, okay? Provisions and time is the main key ingredients factor that you have to deal with when dealing with religion, as well as insaf, fairness. But the fairness only can be displayed through the proper provisions and through the proper time sharing. When do her time start? When do the other one time start? So forth, etc., etc. So when dealing even with a woman, even if you only have one wife, which is better for you than two wives, but even if you only have one wife, then you still should give her a proper attention, proper provisions, and so forth. You should make your wife feel cherished. And I know sometimes y'all might say that I'm sounding fleazy or corny. And it's backwards. It always been like that. Opposite attracts. The more that you want a woman and the more that you reveal your hand and wear your heart on your sleeve, so to speak, the nice guy finished last. And that's true when you're dealing with a hood girl, not when you're dealing with a muttaqi. And it took me a while to learn the difference with this. When you're dealing with a woman who's mudayyin, is religious, then that woman is going to look at you on other things, which is going to be appealing to her about you. But when you're dealing with a woman who's not too religious and she's streetwise, then she don't want no dudes or pushover. You know, just dreamy, always romantic. Yeah, she wants you to be a little bit of touch of romantic, yeah, but she wants you to play hard to get. So you have to understand that normally goes along with territory. So opposite does attract. But the Prophet ﷺ was a romantic man. I'm gonna give you some incidents. The Prophet ﷺ would turn his cup around where Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha would put her lips at. He would turn the cup around so that he could place his lips where she placed her lips at. This is romance. This is being romantic, by the way. Also, the Prophet ﷺ would lick the fingers of his spouses, okay, from their food. This is permissible, as Sheikh Uthaymeen mentioned in his commentary to Riyadh Salihin and the Bab, or the etiquettes of eating, okay. There are other things that the Prophet ﷺ would do. He would race Aisha, okay, and then one time she beat him, and then one time he beat her. These things are something that brings that spark, that spunk into your marriage. So in your relationship, you should not want to be aloof. How can you be in a relationship and you the one who's estranged? You always cut off from your. That's unfair. That's unfair to that woman. Why would you make her feel alone and y'all supposed to be together? No one should be in a relationship and feel alone. No one. You understand? No one. The moment that sometimes sins, if you don't want to admit it or not, sins, doing things bad, doing things you're not supposed to do, things like that will cause you to distance yourself from your loved ones. Okay? And my proof for this is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who says that there is not two believers that separates except that is due to an evil, a sin. Okay? And this extends both to husband and wife. Okay? This extends to both to husband and wife. A husband and wife can become estranged and separate from each other due to a sin. This is why sin has so much bearing that it's like a light matter to us. When a wife sins, she's affecting the whole family. When the husband sins, he's affecting the whole family. He's disrupting that unity or that harmony that must be maintained at all times. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is important to understand. This is why there's no such thing of being shot out couples. There's no such thing to be a shot out couple. Because in Islam, we believe that our riding beasts, our vehicle, our provisions are affected by our sins and our disobedience. We believe that our harmony with our spouses is affected by our sins and disobedience. I give you another hadith, which is the hadith of Hudayfa. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said that indeed my wife, she has a sharp tongue with me. She speaks to me in an ill manner. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he looked at Hudayfa and he said, Min aina anta? He said, Min aina anta min istighfar? He said to, no. Okay, see if you can get that. See if there's something in there, okay? Yeah, see, inshallah. So he says, be careful with that, Yudi. So he says, where are you from seeking forgiveness? Here, Hudayfa is complaining about his wife being sharp-tongued with him. Here, the Prophet ﷺ is instructing him to seek forgiveness. Can y'all make the correlation? Where's the connection? Why is he telling him to seek Allah's forgiveness for his wife having a sharp tongue? When you think that she needs to be seeking forgiveness and not him? No. Because the Prophet ﷺ is showing us in this hadith that our sins, whether we're neglecting to do a command or whether we are falling into a prohibition, can affect our family life. You understand that? So seek Allah's forgiveness so that through your obedience, you might get your wife to become obedient. Do you see it? That's the connection. Likewise with the wife. So we have to be careful of that and we can't overlook that. All right, going into the second classification of the wifey material. This is the headmaster wife. What is a headmaster wife? Okay, I know many of us, especially in day of times, subhanAllah, right? This is amazing. These type of wives, they are the well-paid. They making more money than you know? Sort of like when Martin was complaining about Gina pulling in more funds than him. They make more money than you, right? Either in their career or in their business. But they disrespect and put the husband down because they have the financial edge of their husbands. This is so important for the women who find themselves in this predicament. Your ideal example is the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha was more wealthier than the Prophet ﷺ. But we do not have one report from them that she had belittled the Prophet ﷺ due to his financial state of being inferior to her in finance versus her being superior to him in finance. She don't belittle him. This is something important to understand, because this is why taqwa is important for both spouses to have. When you talk about relationship goals, righteousness has to come with it. And look at the kuffar right now. I want you to go right now, go examine relationship talks with kuffar. If you listen to kuffar talking relationship, the main ingredient, they still talks about trust, faith, all that stuff falls under that. Trust, having faith, commitment, loyalty. Where do you think all of that springs from? All of that springs from having taqwa. So if you have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jalla, then you are trustworthy. Then you are loyal. You are committed. You understand? You have these different things. You have the loyalty that you're supposed to have with your spouse. Why would you want to belittle your spouse? Because they does not make what you make. This is why some of the scholars, especially when it comes to the form of that, when they talk about the compatibility, the musharaka, or the makafa'ah that need to take place between both the husband and spouse, they talked about status, social status. And some of them say that they should be on the same social status, because if they got different social status, it's going to cause disruptiveness. And we saw that with Zainab and the only companion who was mentioned by name. I should actually make that a question, right? See if you can answer that. It'd be a good quiz, right? There was only one companion in the Quran that was mentioned by name. I named one of my sons after him, by the way. But there was only one companion in the entire book of Allah that was mentioned by name in the Quran. And he was married to Zainab. And because of their social status, it caused some little bit disruptors. Okay? And I'm going to give you his name. Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned, فَلَمَّا زَيْدًا, he said, فَلَمَّا زَيْدًا قَضَى. Allah mentioned that when Zayd ibn Haritha, okay? And that's what it was. It was Zayd ibn Haritha. One time was called Zayd ibn Muhammad. He was the free slave of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he was wed to Zainab, who was a noble woman who had high status. And because he come from a slave status, that compatibility was kind of disrupted to the woman. So some of the scholars, they say, no, that have to be looked at. I mean, after Deen, then we wanted to look at certain other things that brings the harmony between both spouses. Because you have to remember, just because you're not on the same social status, you have to have taqwa. You have to have fear. You have to have, you have to be fear. Look at Khadija right now. She supported the Prophet ﷺ in everything. She supported me with her wealth. She supported me with her heart. She supported me with her physical. These are the ideal examples. Nicki Minaj cannot be your ideal example. Beyonce can't be your ideal example of a role model wife. I mean, they married. We acknowledge the fact that they are married, but you got to be realistic now. You know, you have to be realistic. You can't be sitting there looking on social media and saying this is how you want you and your husband life to be. Like, that's weird. The reason why it's weird, number one, you're not in the same bracket as them. You're not tested with the same things that they have, and you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Okay, so you can't automatically assume because some people have this and it looked like this, as the famous statement of your man, quote unquote, the poet Drake. He said, "I know people, some wives who are happily married until they put their phone down." Right? They're happily married on social media until what? They put the phone down. And we know that a lot of people are happily this and happily that. They are the ideal couple until, you know, you put the phone down, they're fighting like cats and dogs and blah, 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 blah. So you don't want to base that off of that. You want to be fair, sisters. If you find yourself dealing with a man who's lesser than you in finance, then take the examples of the Prophet wives and then take the example of Sahabiyat. And I give you one example, one of my favorite hadiths, and it was narrated by Asma bint Abi Bakr. She was the daughter of Abu Bakr, and she was the sister of the Prophet wife, her mother, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Asma bint Abi Bakr, she describes her current state with her husband Zubair ibn al-Awwam. She said that Zubair ibn al-Awwam didn't have no wealth at this time. Okay, they didn't even have enough to afford a slave to help them out. So at this time, she had to wash the clothes, she had to knead the bread, she had to do everything by herself. So one time she was walking, she had the basket on her head, and the Prophet ﷺ and his companions were riding by on a camel. The Prophet ﷺ, this is his sister, okay, he offered her a ride with him so that it can make some ease for her. But she remembered the ghira of Zubair. And even though this was the Messenger of Allah, she declined his offer because she did not want to upset her husband. How many women today can literally say that no matter the financial state, because remember Zubair didn't have nothing. She's telling you that he didn't have nothing at this time, you know, as far as financial. How many women can still remain that loyal and really put the needs of her husband above her own in this situation? Because even when she went back and related to Zubair what happened, Zubair radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that was the Messenger of Allah, you should have took the ride, you know. But she remembered his guilt, and she knew her husband. So what we're trying to remind the woman is try to emulate and imitate them. You brothers likewise try to emulate and imitate the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. Ridwanullah ta'ala alayhi. Last but not least, we're mentioning, I think I always be trying to go short, but always end up long. The second type of husband classification is the acidic husband. And we talked about anger earlier, so we ain't gonna go too deep in this one. The acidic husband is always boiling, right? Like acid, and always angry, violent, moody, dominating, and very dangerous. Okay? Some of you women, be aware of this, okay? Because love is blind. Be aware of getting involved with these type of men. Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that in this case, it was not considered to be riba. It's not backbiting. When someone is seeking marriage, business, or something like that, that you reveal, because the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this to a woman. He said, stay away from so-and-so because his hand is not far away from his stick, meaning that he beats his woman, okay? He beats his woman. You want to stay away. Now, compatibility is a big thing. You want to stay away from that type of individual. They're dealing with a lot of inward stuff. A man that is explosive like that is always moody, is very violent, you're like on eggshells with this guy. You understand? Now you can appreciate the hadith earlier from Abu Hurairah. La taghdab, do not become angry. This man, and you gotta understand the mental state of this. And it happens. A man can get a woman who is very docile, who's very meek, humble. And he don't mind to take that woman. And he might explode on that woman one time, Allah forbid, and then some sickness inside himself, some weird sense, he feels emasculated, he feels masculine, dominating, right? That he brought this woman to hills, so to speak. And it becomes a routine now. But once he hit her, he was a little bit remorse, and he had her do what he wanted, and then it becomes a mind control game, and then now he's beating on this woman, and it becomes a habit. And now he's abusing the woman, okay? He's assaulting the woman. These type of men are dangerous. I do not advise any woman to marry a man that has a case of beating on women. I don't care if you brothers like me for this or not. Do not beat on women. Do not beat on women. Having an altercation with your wife, that can happen sometimes, especially where we come from. We're not going to act like we come from the pages of the Quran and Sunnah, or that we come from the best of people. Like we said, some women are more aggressive, especially in this day of time, more aggressive than men. They put their hands on men, force men to actually put. Sometimes a woman will look at you weak, and even if you don't, step up to the challenge, like show her. You know the memes. You see the memes on social media. I like my man to tell me what to do. I don't mean I'm gonna do it, but I like him to tell me what to do. Females like that type of stuff, huh? A man to tell you what to do. But be careful, because sometimes a man cannot know his own strength, and he start beating on a woman, and this is not love. Or verbally abusing a woman is just as effective as physically beating. Okay? Verbally abusing. This is sometimes I find myself dealing with women who had problems with drug addiction, and I don't want to go into that. It's a different topic, but you're gonna learn when this stuff goes on in our community. You're gonna learn when dealing with stuff like this, you take on a different mentality because of your frustration, because of your anger. Not trying to make an excuse, but you're still wrong. You start to downplay and belittle the partner or the spouse, and it becomes a habit verbally. And you abuse that spouse with the words you say and the things you say. It's harmful and it's repugnant, and it goes against the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. It's disruptive to harm. Live with them in kindness. Also, it goes against the same verse that's mentioned in that same surah where Allah said, and speak to them a word that is ma'ruf, that is kind. No, so it's not kind when you are being disruptive and abusive to a person. I don't care who it is, whether it's the woman doing it to the man, or the man doing it to the woman, or whether it's the man doing it to a child, or a woman doing it to a child. No one wants to be put down, especially by the one that that's supposed to be there for them, supposed to love them. No one wants to be put down. They hurt. That hurts. So we got to be careful and be reminded of those verses where Allah Jalla wa'ala says in the Quran, وَقُولِ لِلْعِبَادِ, and say to my servants, to say those words, he says, say those words, بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, those words that are better, okay? Those words that are good. Say those words that are kind to one another. This do not make you weak, okay? I don't know why we think that, it's the mentality. Look at the music. Back in my day, it was the music with Memphis Bleak. Well, what do you think of that? We don't know these people. Why are you speaking to us? It's that mentality is, you Joe, why are you talking to us? You don't know me. I got to take this arrogance stance. Nowadays, is even more with the newer music that's out there, and that's projecting that type of stuff in our mind. We're gonna act like we're strangers to music. Majority of us banging music. So that's one thing about me. I'm a realist. I don't try to play a game. I look this way in the masjid and I look this way not. No, I'm gonna be real with myself. If I'm there, I'm there. If I'm not there, I ask Allah Jalla wa'ala to aid me and help me get there. And sometimes I don't like to play around, especially when you're talking about religious topics or things like that, because sometimes we need to get to the nitty gritty so we can better ourselves and improve ourselves, inshallah. So anyway, that mentality is telling us to stay away from that. Not to be kind to each other. You Joe if you're kind. If you're kind to one another, you Joe. Like if a person is kind to their husband, he's Joe. So we want to be careful with that. Tell you. Also, the third type is a slave husband. What is a slave husband? A slave husband is the one who wants to be treated like a king, but he treats his wife like a slave. Alright? He wants to have his feet She's supposed to wait on him hand and foot. She's supposed to cater to him, but he don't want to do that. He don't want to return or reciprocate those feelings to her. You understand? And because of that, he become oppressive in his dealing with her. You understand? This the slave type of husband, and he wants the wife to perform old tradition, meaning he wants her to be meek, humble, respect, and he don't want her to address him by his first name. I know a lot of you women probably experience this in some of your marriages. I know a lot of you men might have some of these traits, and we got to be careful with it. Just because the woman is the weaker sex, she actually is the strongest. I'm going to repeat that again. Just because the woman is the weaker sex, she's actually the strongest. And you say, well, that's not true. Allah said, الرجال قوامون على النساء بعضهم وفضل بعضهم على بعض. Right? He gave them fadl over the woman. He's maintaining her, protecting her. The Prophet ﷺ made it clear. He said, I have not seen you woman, he's talking to the woman, to take a man of lub, strong reasoning and understanding and wisdom that can deter him and swerve him off his deen. This how effective and strong that woman is. So when I say she's the weaker sex, but she's also the strongest, I mean in her femininity, I mean in the fact that she could take you off your square. You understand? And I don't care the strongest gangster type of dude out there, if he falls in love with a woman, he's vulnerable. Love make you expose that vulnerability. You understand? Love exposes and make you naked to the other individual. This is why it becomes a cat and mouse game. This is why it becomes the type of game. We gotta keep our poker face on. I'm not going to reveal my feelings too fast. He's not going to reveal his feelings too fast. We want to fill each other out, because whoever let their guard down first is the one who's going to get played first. Am I right or wrong? Right? Am I right or wrong? This is that game that's played. So the moment, this is why Sheikh Islam Taymiyyah, he says that what? A man can be a slave to a woman. She can enslave a man. A woman can enslave a man. That man can be so wrapped up into that woman that because his heart is with her, she can do whatever she wants with that guy. It's true. So don't think because you masculine and you got the physique and everything that you got everything on lock, bruh. No, you don't. So don't think that, alright? So be careful with mistreating the woman. The best thing you can do, which should be the best thing you should do, as Sheikh Brother bring in his book, 20 Pieces of Advice. Whenever you have a woman that caters to your needs, the right man is in turn is going to cater to her. The more she caters to you is the more you're going to cater to her. You understand? The more good and wholesome she's towards you is the more good and wholesome you're supposed to be towards her. But a lot of times we got a lot of shadiness with us, and we don't want to admit it. A lot of us been brought up in broken homes. We haven't seen our father loving our mother properly. Okay? A lot of us was raised in a two-parent home, was raised in a single-parent home. That is effective to the marriage you're in, whether you want to believe it or not. So you don't have that example of how to be with your wife. How are you going to be right with your wife if you don't know how properly a man's supposed to love a woman? You don't know how to play that game right with that woman. So now you're coming in. You're already one-sided because you want off the experience that you have coming from a single-parent home. You understand? So you want to be careful from that. You can't go in there verbally abusing and belittling and putting down that particular spouse. All right? She's not a slave to you. She's a slave to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Yes, the hadith does say that the wives are your slave. Understand it in its proper context, and then you will understand what it means. Y'all both are a slave to one another in the sense that y'all both supposed to cater to one another. Y'all both supposed to put each other's feelings in proper perspective, okay? This is what you want. A strong man is a man who adheres to the principles and doesn't let a woman do what she wants to do that is against her act or against her soul and against her health and so forth. A strong man is not a man who can punch another man in the face. He's not a man who told a gun, not a man who will bust his gat. That's not a strong man. Nowhere that's toward that in Islam at all. You're going to find that. Sometimes you find the most humblest of men, the most meekest of men that aren't always forceful like that. The most silent of men are the most deadliest. You understand? When it comes to principles, they put their life on the line. And you find the most person who's brass, who's toting guns. When you put him inside that jail cell, he don't got those guns no more. He can't get those knives, and he got to use his hands, and he's nothing. And you find him when he actually in some real trouble. He's crying, pleading the fifth and whatever. This is how it goes. So we want to be careful with all that stuff. Judge a person on their character, right? When it comes to the standard of men, you judge them based off of their character and their deen. Last but not least, the wife. Also, the name calling. Why do we call each other? Anyone know what a kunya is? Why do we think we use kunyas? Anyone know what the plural for is called kunyat? All right. The word kunya is a techonomy. In English, a techonomy is a word that is like a word of endearment, not endearment like sweetheart, but it comes with when someone is not just the father of, but someone who's beloved to someone. So it's a notch higher in affection. All right, and you can see this in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that whenever Aisha was mad or angry with the Prophet ﷺ, she would call him, she would say the Lord of Ibrahim, not the Lord of Muhammad. Right? And you will be able to tell because how she would use or address him. And this is likewise with ourselves. So when calling your husband a kunya or calling him by his kunya, Abu so-and-so, or calling your wife so-and-so, this brings about affection, and it goes with the ayah, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, live with them in kindness. This brings about that affection. So do it. Do a lot of it, okay? Man not wanting his wife to address him by his first name, I believe this man have a form of cowardice with him. He wants to check this because a woman calling you by your first name or calling you by your kunya, which is better, is still a form of respect. As long as she don't call you out of your name. Do you understand? The last type of woman is the police wife. Okay? The police wife, this type of woman, and we'll end this with this, these are the wives that inspect or police their husband everywhere they go. We have some men that does this as well. When the husband goes to the bathroom, they pick up his phone quickly to check. Likewise, when the wife goes to the bathroom, the husband does the same, right? If the husband makes a call, they hide behind the door to listen, okay? It's a spy, by the way, to their conversation. If the husband goes out, they make sure he is followed, and the friends keep an eye on the husband's activities. This type of mentality, whether it's from a woman, even though we're talking about women here, or whether it's from a man, it is some issues that are there that needs to be addressed and worked. That is, insecurity is at the head of this. A person being insecure, right? And sometimes insecurity is not caused by another person. It can be caused inwardly by the person. If a person is unstable within themselves and they have these trust issues within themselves where they know what they are doing and what they're possible, what they could do, and they have issues, they could project that issue onto the spouse they with. And by the way, this is unhealthy. This is not a healthy relationship. Whenever you have to spy on your partner or significant other, then know you have left the realm of healthiness within your relationship. You have placed your relationship on a borderline fast street to be dissolved. No one wants to be spied on. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ijtanibu kathiran min al-ithm inna ba'd al-ithm inna ba'd al-dhann. He said ijtanibu kathiran min al-dhann wa inna ba'd al-dhanni ithm. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, "O you who believe," addressing the believers in the 49th chapter of the Quran, which is Surah Hujurat, stay away and avoid much suspicion. Because indeed, some suspicion is a sin. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says in authentic hadith, it's collected by Bukhari, he said, "Iyyakum wal-dhann, beware of suspicions." He said, because فَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ أَكْذَبُ hadith. He said, for rarely suspicion is the worst form of tells. Okay. Also, the ayah continues. Allah said, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. Do not spy on one another and do not backbite one another. And Allah says, أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. Do one of you love to eat the dead flesh of his brother? You will abhor it, or you will hate it and dislike it. So in this verse, Allah Jalla wa Ala talks about staying away from backbiting, ghibah, also staying away from najas, spying. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith of Abu Hurairah collected by Bukhari, وَلَا تَجَاسَسُوا, do not spy on one another. وَلَا تَنَاجَسُوا, do not تَبَاغَضُوا, do not backbite one another. So, and we see the correlations this extends to husbands and wives. Do not, for both husband and wives. If you gotta spy on your partner, and brothers, we know what we're doing. We do stuff that make the woman mistrust of us anyway. And women, you know what you're doing. You do stuff that makes the man mistrust. You gotta delete the text, it was wrong. If you know that your husband is displeased with you talking to that person, then it is wrong. Likewise, you men, if you gotta delete the text, you cannot explain or feel comfortable enough to have the conversation with your husband or with your significant other, meaning with your wife, then you know it's wrong. You should stay away from it, okay? And if you don't stay away from it, it speaks of your iman, it speaks of your adherence to it, it speaks of your deen. So you want to stay away from that type of stuff. Person, this is why permissiveness, you want to stay away from permissiveness. This is why we are not allowed to marry a prostitute. You know, likewise, nobody wants a person that's for everybody. Nobody wants a person that's for everybody. And rule of thumb, I learned this the hard way. Just because a woman might be ill-mannered or a woman might be doing something you don't like, she's your spouse and she behaves a certain way and she's pushing you further and further away, it's better that you go ahead and release that woman in kindness before you do something that is detrimental to that woman, and you can never really repair the damage that she did. And you brothers know what I'm talking about. A lot of men, and even a lot of women say, well, that man drove me to cheat. And a lot of men say, that woman drove me to cheat. I'm telling you from experience, not saying cheating, but you don't want to do none of it. You don't want your spouse to drive you or push you in the hands of someone else. And social media, brothers and sisters, this is the evil of social media. Do I think Facebook needs to be banned? No. Do I think Instagram needs to be banned? No. Do I think we're not supposed to utilize social media? No. But do I think social media have evil? Yes. Do Facebook have evil? Yes. Do Instagram have evil? Yes. Do the other areas of Facebook, like Snapchat, the other areas of social media, like Snapchat and things like that have evil? Yes. Because of the free mixing, because of the different things that it might be that you see, the exposing of one another, showing each other and stuff like that. These things cause problems between your spouses. Believe it. You make that woman mad, she already got 100 inboxes already telling her good morning, beautiful. You know, and Shaitan played with her so much, she just got so tired of you making her mad and angry, she gives in and entertains the guy who said good morning, beautiful. Not realizing the grass is not greener on the other side. Because that guy is saying good morning, beautiful, he only wants one thing, sweetie. And I'm sorry to say this to you, but you need to wake up. It's a reality check. He's no different from the man that you're with. Stop thinking that. Yes, there's some scenarios where a man is different, but no, he's not different than the man you're with. Okay? He's saying good morning because once you get with him, those good morning texts is going to stop. Okay? That man wants the nookie. You need to understand this. He wants the nookie. And it's not a guarantee that he's going to treat you any better than the one you're running from. Likewise, you men. Just because we see these sisters' profiles and we see their pages, I know, trust me, I'm a man. That stuff, Ibn Qayyim made it clear. He says it starts off with a look. Actually, it goes deeper with a thought. It starts off with that look. Man, that look is, you might see something that's subhanAllah. The Prophet ﷺ had to grab the brother of Ibn Abbas. He had to literally grab his face and turn him away because he was staring at a woman. He saw the woman, man, she was appealing, she was staring at him. They both was attracted to each other. You can see, the energy is sizzling. You know what I mean? So the Prophet ﷺ saw this and he grabbed him physically, took his hands in his face, and he turned it the other way so he wouldn't look at the sister. Now imagine us going through the profile. MashaAllah, the sister garbs is nice, she look nice. You don't know nothing about that sister. And for all you sisters and all you brothers talking about my social media is just for fun, you can't tell about me through my social media, that's a lie. You can tell about you by what you post. You can tell about you by what you post. What you like, what you're attracted to, you can. And guess what? The FBI, they use your profile to depict and make a database about you. So don't, you see it. How when you see up there, if you like certain movies, that's coming up in there. If you like certain music, or if you like certain different things, all of that comes up. You're browsing the web and you're looking at this, they're making a profile, a database of you on your likes, your dislikes. So stop saying this is not you. No, this is you. This is an indication of you. It might not be fully you, but it's an indication of who you are. All of us, an indication of who you are. And then we have the opposite person, the chameleon. We have the person who puts up all of the Islamic quotes, all of the Islamic stuff. You go to their Facebook page and you might look at me and say, well, the brother got all Islamic stuff up there. It might be the horriblest person in character and things like that. So beware of those individuals as well. So anyway, we end up with that, talking about the police type of wife. No one wants to be in that type of relationship. Do not be suspicious of one another. It's haram. As we quoted the ayat, we quoted the hadith. Do not spy on your brothers and sisters. Trust me, it can happen. There's a hadith that Aisha read about anha. She followed the Prophet ﷺ one night. She got out of her bed, and it wasn't for the same reason that she took, alhamdulillah, the Prophet ﷺ got up. She went right behind him, and he went actually to the graveyard at this time, but she followed. Sometimes, man, you can be involved with somebody, you like them, and you turn into a creep, as the woman called it, and this can happen. So we ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to allow us to, it's going to be a part 2 to this anyway, because I got to finish off the different classification of wives and husbands. But anyway, allow us to really, really, really incorporate the Islamic etiquettes and the examples of the Prophet ﷺ to become better men and better women. In today's world, your marriage deserves your 100% energy. It's unfair, brothers and sisters, that it's an epidemic. You men and you women are getting together, having a fest, a sex fest. So many different sex partners, and you know what you're doing. HIV is very high right now in the Pennsylvania area. And I'm not even mad at it. I'm not mad at it. As Sheikh Abdullah Dufari, one of Sheikh Muqdal's students, he mentioned the narration about diseases will become widespread, and this is some of the ill effects of zina. I'm not mad at it. Because of the zina that we are engaging in, and may Allah protect us all from it, there's some consequences that need to come behind it that deter us from it. We are getting together, having sex, producing babies, and not even being together. It's so sick nowadays that it's just cool to say that's my baby dad and that's my baby mom. That's sick. It's so sick for that. That's my baby dad, that's my baby mom. That's not okay. That's not okay. That says I'm a Zani, he's a Zani. You might say, well, brother, what if they was married and they had to get... Okay, if they was married, then we don't have to use the term my baby dad and my baby father. That's my ex-wife, my children. We're gonna have more respect. That's the children of that's my mother's, the children, that's my children's mother, or that's my children's father. You understand? For some reason or another, it doesn't work out between us. But then the rights are gonna be shared. Does he go with the father? Does he stay there? All that's gonna be played. There's rooms, but it's not gonna be the same mentality of a baby father and a baby dad and a baby mom. It's not gonna be that same type of room. You have to be careful with that type of stuff. Stay away from that. No more sex fests. If you find that woman and you find that man, 9 times out of 10, that's the person you want to make it work with, and you want to try to make it work with. Give it your all before you cause it a shot. And one thing about the woman, brothers and sisters, they do this. Gotta be fair. Most females, if they really into a man, they're going to give them their all before they walk away. Brothers, don't forget that, all right? The woman don't normally just walk away on the onslaught, the stuff that we do. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us all. And we ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to have mercy upon us all. And all of us turn to Allah in repentance. Whatever we said that was incorrect was from Allah. I mean from ourselves and shaitan. Whatever says correct from Allah was Allah. Jazakallah.